Most financial content tells you what not to spend money on. Skip the coffee, stop eating out, don't touch the lifestyle until the accounts are right. Today, I'm doing the opposite. These upgrades are worth making the moment you start earning real money. And I want to be clear about something before we start. Not all of these are new recurring expenses that inflate your cost of living. Some of the best ones are one time purchases that keep paying you back for years. Now, stay with me until number 5 because it's the one item on this list you won't find anywhere else in a personal finance content video. And the story behind it changed how I understood what roofing sales was doing to my body without me knowing it. Here are the 10 upgrades. Now, I'm going to start with the first thing that sounds crazy to upgrade, which is the vehicle. Most people think of upgrading the vehicle as buying a nicer car. This one says make the vehicle you already have work harder for your income. If you're in field sales, you spend more time in your vehicle than almost anywhere else. It's not just transportation, it's your office, your logistics hub. Sometimes it's your presentation space, and also your decompression room between appointments. The upgrade here isn't a new truck with a payment that owns your slow months. It's turning the one you already have into a professional grade mobile command center. That means investing in a tablet for clean digital presentations and estimates on the spot instead of fumbling with paper. A CRM setup that captures notes and next steps the moment you leave the driveway. A drone if your market and skill set justify it. A GoPro or something similar for video inspections that create transparency and real trust with clients. Higher quality inspection tools that make your assessment thorough and documented. Maybe a safety gear like Cougar paws or better ladders. My favorite item in my truck was my Arctic cooler. It kept my food cool for the entire day while being in 100-degree heat, which reduced the on-the-go food stops that can rack up financially and throw my fitness goals off track when you're busy. Most of these are one-time purchases that last years and pay for themselves in closed deals and professional positioning. The sales rep who shows up with the right tools and a frictionless presentation closes at a different rate than the rep working off a clipboard and a handshake. The vehicle is already yours. The upgrade is what you put in it. If you don't have a retirement account open, that's the upgrade. But a retirement account at this stage isn't about benefiting you 20 or 30 years from now. It's about what happens to your money between today and then. Here's something a lot of guys in sales don't think about because nobody ever told them. When you jump income brackets significantly for the first time, which roofing sales does faster than almost any other career path, you're suddenly in a territory where your tax liability becomes a real and manageable variable. The right account structure gives you the flexibility to control how much of your income is taxed, when it's taxed, and at what rate. Guys, that's not a retirement benefit. That's an immediate financial lever that most commission earners never pick up. I'm talking to the 1099 earners specifically because the account types available to you have significantly higher contribution limits than a standard IRA. A SEP IRA lets you contribute a meaningful percentage of your net self-employment income and reduce your taxable income in the same year. Solo 401k goes further, allowing both employee and employer contributions in strong income years, which means in a year where your commissions are high and your tax exposure is significant, you have a legal mechanism to keep more of what you earned. These aren't complex strategies. They're the basic infrastructure and some of the most powerful tax advantage tools available to self-employed commission earners, and most sales reps have never heard or used either of them. There's also the asset control piece. Money sitting in a retirement account and your name growing in your account under your direction is yours in a way that money sitting in a checking account and cycling through lifestyle expenses isn't. Sure, you can't touch it until retirement, but that's a feature, not a limitation. Would you rather retain control of your capital that can accumulate over decades or lose it by paying more in taxes? This is one of the few upgrades on this list where the benefit is immediate, not deferred. The tax flexibility and the asset control start working the year you open the account and make your first contribution. A CPA who works with self-employed clients is the right person to help you figure out which structure fits your specific tax situation and how much to put in each year. But the account needs to exist before any of that advice can be applied. This one looks like a defensive move, but it's actually the most offensive financial position you can build. Most people think of an emergency buffer as protection against disaster, and it is that. But for a commission earner with real income, a fully funded buffer is what unlocks everything else. I keep a year's worth of expenses in cash, and that's the difference between being someone who reacts to external circumstances and someone who is unaffected by them. 1 to 3 months of bare bone expenses is the floor to start with. That's the floor. The real target for a commission earner on a variable income is 9 to 12 months. A salaried person's 3-month buffer does a different job than yours. Your income can go quiet for extended stretches, And 12 months of coverage means a slow season is a planned for period rather than a crisis you're managing in real time. One important note on sequencing. The buffer comes after high interest debt is paid off entirely, not before. If you're carrying credit card balances, then building a savings cushion at a lower return is negative math. Clear the expensive debt, then build the cushion. A cash reserve at this level doesn't just cover unexpected expenses, it protects your independence. Here's what most people get wrong. The savings rate has to stay locked even as income scales. This is where commission earners specifically lose ground. Income jumps from 80 to 150K and the lifestyle follows it upward. Then the savings rate stays flat or drops and complacency settles in. The bigger income produces the same financial position because the spending expanded to absorb it. The key is locking the savings rate percentage as income grows, not the dollar amount. If you were saving 15% at $80,000, you save at least 15% at $150,000. I bumped mine up to 60% during my years in roofing sales. The wealth building rate either increases or gets the same percentage of a much larger number. Over time, that discipline is what closes the gap between earning well and being genuinely free. Next up are two categories and they're connected. Books, courses, seminars, and peer groups get dismissed after a certain level of experience because you feel like you've already heard most of it. I used to feel the same way. Eventually, I realized that the value of revisiting familiar material almost never comes from brand new information. It comes from reinforcement. From hearing a concept you already know framed differently in a way that actually makes you apply it. Consistency in your own life requires maintenance, and the right content is part of that maintenance. The other side is paying for people who have already done what you're trying to do. I'm a big believer in there's no such thing as truly self-made. Successful people ask for help. They build teams of smart people that help them out. They hire consultants, CPAs, attorneys, mentors, and coaches. Why? Because they're buying other people's experience and knowledge. If someone spent 20 years figuring something out and you can compress the most important lessons into a working relationship with you, you're buying a shorter timeline to the outcome you want and a significantly smaller pile of expensive mistakes on the way there. For mentors and coaches specifically, look for someone who has actually done the thing rather than someone who has studied it. Just like you wouldn't work with a personal trainer who's out of shape, the same is true for business, sales, and wealth management. That's one of the main characteristics that sets wealthy people apart from others. They're lifelong learners. When you're in the early season and trying to save every dollar, you do everything yourself. You mow the lawn, you clean the house, you make the follow-up calls, you spend 3 Saturdays watching tutorials trying to fix something a professional would handle in an hour. That season makes sense because you're building and the margin is thin. But there comes a point where your time is worth more than what it costs to hire someone to handle the task. I changed out hydraulic components on helicopters during my time in the military. For some reason, installing a ceiling fan or taking on other house projects makes me question my life choices. I would genuinely rather pay someone $100 to handle that and use that time to work on a client file, record a video, or get a training run in. For commission earners in a seasonal business, this is especially true during the peak months. House cleaning, lawn maintenance, the running list of projects that pile up while you're running at full capacity in the field. Knowing the home front is covered while you're handling clients removes a real source of overhead from the months that matter most for your income. Time lost on a Saturday doesn't come back. Money spent to reclaim it does. 5 down, 5 to go. The first half was about the financial and structural upgrades. The second half is where the list shifts into something most financial channels never talk about. What you're doing to the machine that produces all of it. Hit subscribe before we get into number 5 because that one is the upgrade no financial content will ever put on a list like this, and the story behind it changed how I understood what roofing sales was doing to my body without me ever noticing. And before we get into this one, I want to say something directly. Health is wealth isn't a motivational poster. You can have the right account structure, the right savings rate, the right retirement vehicle, and still have it all compromised by a body that's been running on empty for years without you realizing it. When I was in roofing sales, I came across a book by Justin Roethlingshofer about how stress and recovery directly impact performance and overall health. I was expecting another think it into existence type book, and instead found a deep look into what unmanaged physiological stress actually does over time. It made me curious about what my body was absorbing during a full day of sales work, driving in traffic across tight appointment windows, scaling steep roofs in 100-degree heat, climbing into attics, managing a pipeline of active deals. All of it has a physical cost. I started measuring HRV through a fitness tracker. HRV is heart rate variability. and it's one of the better indicators of how recovered your nervous system actually is on a given day. What I found was that roofing sales had been producing a level of sustained stress I had completely underestimated. It took me nearly a year after leaving to get my recovery numbers into what's considered a normal range. The fitness tracker is on this list because it's the tool that makes the next 3 upgrades measurable instead of a theoretical or simply lifestyle comfort. Your food, your sleep, and your fitness don't just feel better when you upgrade them. They produce data, and that data tells you whether the upgrades are actually working or whether you're still running a deficit that the performance costs haven't fully shown up yet. I chose the Garmin Forerunner 265, about $400 at the time. Not the cheapest and not the most expensive. A simple one-time purchase that has given me years of data across work, training, and recovery. For a commission earner in field sales, it's about knowing whether today is a day to push hard across 5 appointments or whether you need a half day of genuine recovery so tomorrow is better. That's life force performance management, and most people have no data on it at all. Despite this being a finance channel, I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. The expensive gym membership is worth it if what's inside it actually gets you the results you're working for consistently. On the flip side, a $10 a month membership produces the same fitness results. I canceled mine even though it was $10 a month and 10 minutes away from the house. I found it more efficient to do kettlebell workouts at home and put the real investment into my road bike and a consistent rotation of quality running shoes for the training load I actually put them through. I do multi-sport, so the race registration fees add up, but they do something a gym membership rarely does. They give me a deadline, time with my wife, and a reason to show up when motivation is low. That accountability is worth paying for. For someone else, the right call might be the premium gym with training classes, a pool, or a sauna, or a personal trainer who builds a program tailored to your schedule and checks on you when you don't show up. The vehicle doesn't matter as much as the consistency it produces. Physical performance and financial performance are connected in ways that show up in real numbers. The sales rep who stays physically sharp handles pressure better, makes cleaner decisions under stress, and manages the slow months differently than the one who doesn't. It's not a soft benefit. Speaking of soft benefit, there's one thing and one thing only in my bedroom. My bed, and it's been one of the best investments I've made. My mattress is going on 10 years and it still feels like the first night. Sleep affects everything downstream. Your focus, your patience on a difficult day in the field, your decision making when the month goes quiet and the pressure builds. A guy running on poor sleep is making worse calls about deals, about money, about everything in life. The mattress isn't a luxury. It's the infrastructure for how you perform every single day. Think about it. People will put $50,000 into a truck and go home and sleep on a mattress they should have replaced years ago. The math on that doesn't hold up. Mattress, pillows, sound machine, blackout curtains, the sheets that actually work for how you sleep. I'm a hot sleeper, so bamboo sheets and cooling pillows were the right call. Eventually, I'll get the cooling system that blows air into the actual bed once I convince my wife she won't turn into an ice block. The room's painted black with blackout curtains, and I literally can't see my hand in front of my face when the lights are off. It's awesome. Yes, I did pay more than I probably needed to for my Tempur-Pedic, but it's going on 10 years and it still feels like the first night. That's a one-time investment that has been compounding every single night for a decade. Next is what you put into your body for nourishment. Living longer means nothing if you're spending more time sick from disease or suffering in pain. You're either going to pay more now for better food or pay significantly more later for what decades of cheaper food eventually produces. Fresh over processed. Better quality protein, grass-fed or organic as much as you can swing it. Better cooking oils, spices and ingredients that make cooking at home the better option rather than a chore. Filtered water rather than whatever comes out of the tap in most American cities. My food bill has probably gone up at the grocery store, but it's definitely gone down by not eating all the crap I used to before because I understand what it would lead to long term. Those aren't luxury choices. They're maintenance on the only body you're ever going to have. This also means upgrading the tools you use to prepare your food. If you're cooking on a warped pan with a nonstick coating that's been degrading since you bought it, then get yourself a set of stainless steel cookware. Better ingredients still get compromised by bad equipment. Get yourself a quality skillet, a set of knives that actually cut, a good cutting board, and a water filter. Most of these are one-time purchases that last years. Most of the time on a list like this, people expect the last item to be the most expensive one. The biggest purchase or the flashiest upgrade. This one costs nothing, and it's the only one that makes every other item on the list actually work the way it's supposed to. The shift is going from earner consumer to accumulator builder. Those are two fundamentally different identities that produce completely different outcomes on the same income. The earner consumer sees a bigger check and lets the lifestyle expand to match it. New truck, nicer apartments, better vacations, upgraded everything. The income grows and the spending grows with it, and 10 years later, the bank account looks almost identical to the one from the first year, even though the checks were 5 times bigger. The money came in, but nothing accumulated. They're the guys still grinding and reminiscing about the money they used to make back in the day. The accumulator builder sees a bigger check and asks a different question before touching any of it. What percentage of this is going somewhere it can grow before the rest gets allocated? Now, some of you have been living tight because that's all you knew when the income was smaller. Trust me, I know what that feels like because I've been there too. The income grew, but the internal permission to spend in proportion to it never followed. That instinct is actually right, but it's not the same as the full shift. Others have been spending freely because they believe that there was always another commission check coming. More income created more comfort spending, and the month-end balance never quite reflected what came in. The pattern repeats until something structural changes. I know what it feels like to cross income thresholds that used to seem out of reach. The discipline that made the difference wasn't willpower. It was having made the decision in advance about what the money was for before it arrived. The upgrade here isn't a product. Money is a tool, not just for living on, for building wealth with, for blessing others. The moment that shift happens internally, every item on this list stops feeling like an expense and starts feeling like an investment with a specific return. Most people wait for something to force this change on them. The ones who build something decide to make it before they have to. Hey, Roof Money Pros, if this list changed how you think about where the next commission check goes, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below which one of these upgrades you think is the most important. Or did I leave something off this list? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to grab the free Feast Your Famine Survival Guide. It walks you through the income planning foundation for roofing sales so you know exactly what your income is actually doing before you try to direct any of it towards the upgrades that matter. I'll leave the link in the description. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and remember, you're just one roof away.